watching. Please like and subscribe to help us spread TIPA's positive approach message around the world.
So, hi guys, I'm Beth Nolan, and this week we have talked so much about continence, and we've talked a lot about skills. There's been a lot of skill-focused stuff, and we thought maybe today we talk about something that's kind of the next level of skill set. So I'm glad this team was here to have a lot of fun experience with this sort of stuff. We're talking about actually hand under hand, underhand. So, team, if you could, tell real quickly, what is hand underhand? What do you guys know about hand underhand and its uses? So people have a context when we then add that other underhand.
Catherine's getting her stuff ready, it looks like. Well, hand underhand is the idea that you connect right hand to right hand or left hand to left hand, and you put your hand under theirs so that you are supporting them, just Perfect. Like Catherine's showing right there.
Nice, nice. That sensory motor strip connection where I help you by just augmenting the skill, but you move with me. So thinking about this in terms of the utility, we talked about this a ton in terms of, there's Catherine showing how we can help somebody eat. It actually moves us to this place where truly we're using what's retained in the brain, right, to help people do with and not do to someone. So now it comes to this idea that, wow, I've got this great skill. I've watched TIPA Snow for years. I know about hand underhand assistance. And now suddenly I find myself in the most narrow little hallway that they've stuffed a toilet into. And I know that I've got to be in supportive stance with my person in hand underhand. And I know it's effective. I know it works. But how do I do this when the only place I could possibly be is literally directly in front of them? Your environmental modifications are not going to be knocking down supportive walls. So, folks, Catherine and Shelley, even though we end up truly almost right in front of somebody, there's a critical piece that we talk about with positive physical approach that really helps us not trap somebody. So we don't actually, even though we're right in front of them, we don't actually have that confrontational stance. What are you guys thinking in terms of body positioning? That if you have to be, first of all, and before we even get into the details of hand under hand, you really have to be aware of with your body.
Low and just turn those shoulders to the side. If you can get low and below, eye level.
Low and below. So I can give that illusion. It sounds like even though I really am, my body is really here right in front of you. If I can turn my shoulder out, I'm still in this using the same space, it sounds like. And maybe even lean back to give you that sense of I'm not here.
In your face.
In your face. Nice.
And also looking away too, maybe.
Nice.
So they don't have, because if you're in front of somebody, what our wish is that you could be on the side and behind that person, maybe with just a little proprioceptive touch, but not where they can see you while they're trying to do something really private. So when you're down in front, I find that just kind of a subtle looking away. And you don't talk to somebody when they're doing their thing. So
nice. That's a really good pickup. It's kind of think about like the last time, well, it's been a long time since any of us have done this, but think about the last time you went to a big city, a big crowded city, and you ended up sitting at a restaurant where the table next to you was right there next to you. What did you notice about the way that people had their bodies so they give this illusion that I am not intruding on your conversation, person sitting literally right here?
Yeah, you would normally just you would turn your body or lean on your own table so that you're not quite in their area.
Yeah, so you can give this illusion even though space is tight. So Catherine's given this idea that it's not just the body, it's not just the leaning away, but maybe it's actually just the eyes. Not, I couldn't turn to stare at the person next to me at the restaurant. We do that all the time. So thinking about this in terms of now the mechanics. So now you're in this position where you've got somebody that's not exactly, well, it's more of a, do this, guys. Think about someone who in certain types of dementias, or maybe later on in the dementia, I actually have trouble with my frontal lobe, this idea of initiating, right? So this task of actually figuring out what is behind me and how I faithfully just sit down and know it's going to be there. Wow, this is really scary. So we've got this technique called hand underhand, underhand. So Teepa's going to show here how exactly we might be able to get into hand under hand and then get into hand underhand, which gives it that balance we're looking for in this particular situation. So let's take a look at how she describes it here.
Hand to right, and then rocking your hand up and forming a platform. And then taking your left hand and doing a similar thing. So what I did is I took my right hand and reached under with my left so that her elbow is right in the crook of my elbow.
Okay. So I apologize. When I share again, I won't share with my busy background on the screen. Probably somebody out there is just dying when they saw how much stuff was on my desktop. I apologize if that was your focus. So team, if we had people that were so distracted by all the crap on my screen, I'm wondering if you guys could share, think back for a moment to when you tried hand under hand under hand. What were some of the things that you recall from it when you're just trying it out? What did you find you had to do? How did it feel? What do you guys recall?
Well, just like any new skill, it's a little tricky to figure out where do all these parts go. And I'm not a lefty either. So wait a second, my arm goes where? And then my hand goes, how do I grab that hand? It's different than this sort of smooth transition from a handshake.
Yes.
Because you're kind of having to get it instead of ask for it.
Right.
And so it can be a little tricky.
Right. Well, and the other piece is that you're having to go underneath their arm. And so that they may not be, I remember that felt a little uncomfortable, is what to do with their right arm when I was trying to reach for their left. So
that's a good pickup. This idea that it takes a little bit of finesse. And when you fall into that place, you're like, oh, it's kind of funny. Now I just saw your grin, Catherine. What happened? What?
Well, I realized because I was a dancer and I was like, oh, it's polka position.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it is. It's a polka position. So
can be
or two-step. Wouldn't it be a Texas two-step kind of position too?
Well, that's a really good point. Let's take a look at that just in a moment of pause in the screen and seeing exactly how, hopefully that looks a little bit better, a little bit of gray around it rather. Yeah. So noticing how Teepa and Abby are standing and how actually you can get a good view of what's going on if you're the care partner, but I'm not exactly in your face. Now, it doesn't solve our problem of the narrow hallway yet, but I want to have a listen and have a look for how Teepa then helps the person find, in this case, she's helping Abby find the bed. And notice and I won't leave it going very long, but notice how long it's going to take to have Abby get moving, speaking of dancing, find the bed, have her see all the way around, so then when she comes back around, she's able to sit down.
To get the walking going, if she's having some trouble getting going, what you'll want to do is tense up your arms a little bit.
So pull back.
Shift your weight onto the near hip and then the far hip. So you're going to go side to side, and then it's 1, 2, 1, 2. And what I'm going to do is get her to go in a circle. And the reason I want a circle is I want to get her closer to the edge of the bed. And rather than trying to get her to back up, which is challenging, a little scary, what we're going to do is do a small circle so that she ends up with her thighs right in front of the edge of the bed. And I want to think about where I want her to be so that when she lies down, her head's going to end up on the pillow. So I want to also sort of figure out where along the bed
or where along the toilet. So team, why do you think, from your experience, why do you think it's worth it to spend, I think that was like a good almost 25 seconds, slowly going all the way around, not just to end up in the bed, but what have you noticed for you guys? Why was that worth that time spent rather than just, plunk, they're fine?
Well, because if we were just to plunk her back, she has no concept of what's behind her. So the idea of walking her around to let her see what she's going to sit on helps. And it also gets us closer to that place.
There's also a piece of, if you do plunk somebody down or they do have a sense of falling, we trigger their amygdala and their sphincter slams shut, and they're not going to be able to do what you would like them to do, go number one or number two, for at least 10, maybe even 20 minutes, because you have to be relaxed. We all know that. In order for whatever needs to come out to come out.
That piece right there that you just kind of pointed out, this idea that, you're actually going to trigger other visceral responses you may not have been looking for. And I'm also thinking, maybe if this is the first time you're trying it with somebody living with dementia, maybe a bed is a safer place to try first. And it's definitely more forgiving, and it's definitely bigger to see if you've done the walk around. And Teepa actually, exactly what you just sort of brought up, where she actually takes and demonstrates what it's like with this younger person when she helps her sit down.
And if you want to look at it from the side, we'll show it to you from the side. In other words, holding on to like forearms and trying to get her to sit back this way. But what you're actually doing is rocking her off her heels, and she's losing her balance, which is
wow.
Right.
So the last time I rocked back on my heels and lost my balance, not so fun of a situation.
Right.
Yeah. So even if you're plopping onto a bed and there's no harm, no foul, what does you think that might do later on in the relationship in terms of that? Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see that coming with you, because I may not know what exactly. All I know is I remember how I feel.
Right. Right. And Joan was mentioning on Facebook, which says less fear, not feel.
Oh, that's a really good point. This idea of I've got to do everything in my power to decrease this amygdala response. If I'm really hoping you do something skillful, or if I'm hoping you go to sleep, or I'm hoping you're whatever it is, eat a lot of your meal. Anytime we're sitting down, is sitting down a place where I can actually, if you're feeling feel like things are very, very risky, is the human body feel comfortable sitting there? Or this idea of what it is I would like you to do, how do I want your body to be set up in terms of relaxation to make everything happen? Digestion, engagement, sleeping, in this case, toileting. That's a really good point. Nice. So let's take a look at the actual mechanics of this from the front. So I'm going to do a quick play so you guys can get an idea. And we've done a little bit of sit to stand on some of these live at fives already, but I do want to give people a very quick, she does this really fast here to show you how you can use, this hand under hand to help someone sit. And as you're watching this, noticing the position of the hands as she's helping Abby find the bed.
I lean forward. If she doesn't initially sit, what I can do is touch the tendon. There's the tendon right back here, which will cause an automatic fold.
So just a touch.
Yep.
So I'm going to fast forward it, guys, to the place in which we're actually having her try the same technique, this hand under hand, but in front now. Okay. And I'm thinking, Pack Team, if you guys could sort of be looking at some body positionings that aren't necessarily things that just by visually looking, or maybe what Teepa says, you're like, oh, you know what, having done this, it really is this feel of this. So I'm wondering if you guys might be able to notice some things or some ideas in this. Okay. So I'll go ahead and fast forward it to where she's trying it in front and she gets into that position.
Is that I can get in front of her. My forearms are crossed, hand under hand, thumbs up.
So if you are watching this out there and you are a kinesthetic person at all, you find that you have to try something yourself to be able to do it. And if you're not driving, go ahead and cross your arms as Teepa is. Notice which arm comes on top in this case. Most of the time you're right, depending on if the person you're with is a right-handed individual. So you're right on top, and go ahead and do what Teepa's doing. Make that motion, and this might be a little bit helpful as you're trying this now than with another human being.
I kneel down, and then I take my hands and I cue her to sit. Now, when I do that, if she tips forward, she can't go anywhere. If she starts back, I can stabilize it so that she feels really reassured that I'm in control. And yet there's no sense of me pushing or shoving her at all.
So what did you guys notice compared to some of the experiences you've had trying this? Was it, yeah. Okay,
It's really for me, there's this thing of figuring out how much of she uses a lot of her own body weight. Again, like when we did that move from a bed to a chair.
Yep.
Is she uses the fulcrum of her own body weight. I mean, she does a pull down and then a push back because she's working on a fulcrum. She's not hunched over and trying to muscle it with her back.
Right. Nice. That's a really good pickup. So Catherine's talking about this idea that the movement her arms make may be up and down, but it is not pulling or pushing someone either way. It's the natural motion of when the arms go down, the head comes forward, and therefore her own weight, this fulcrum, this balance between the two human bodies. When you're low, you've got that place of strength with all of your core truly engaging with your legs. That's a really cool pickup. This idea that it's not pulling people down, is it?
Right. Well, that's the whole thing too, is realizing, I remember learning that, I need to get down first, not get down with her. I need to be down ahead of time.
Yep.
So that I can do this and I'm already in position. So I'm not bending over, risking back injury or back strain.
Right. I've definitely found myself in that position when I was first trying this. That's so the first step, guys, it sounds like is kneel down, and we're going to have to leave our arms up, and then it's okay, lean forward. Nice.
Yeah. And then that's when you can use your fulcrum again.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. And Shelley, did you have something, or was it more, I was like, yeah.
Well, Joan just said, thank you. Love the no pushing or shoving. It's empowering the person living with dementia to understand the nonverbal commands.
Oh, truly. It's that place where almost thinking about, okay, wait a minute. As a care partner, a lot of the things I do, whenever I brush my teeth or I eat my meal or I sit down, I'm constantly thinking, how would I do this standing beside me? Where is my body wanting to naturally go to support my own motions that I'm doing? And then how can I do that in concert with somebody else? So I'm moving from this place of doing to them or making their body do something I'd like it to do versus actually engaging what they have skill-wise, or maybe just strength-wise, and actually engaging that to the point where it doesn't feel so scary anymore. It's something they've done for 75 years, 80 years.
Yep.
Nice. So guys, what's something for you guys out there in Facebook world or for you two here that when we talk about a lot of these mechanical things, but we're talking about them and watching them, what are some things you can do even if you're not at the place where you want to try it with somebody or you can't try it with somebody because you're alone, you're a trainer and you're not there? What are some things that you guys, it makes you think of in terms of your day-to-day? Are you the person that like every once in a while you'll switch and eat with your left hand so your skill fingers on your left hand can then augment someone else's? Or what are some things that come to mind?
Well, I mean, I often, just like what you were saying, when I'm in a position where I need to think about myself and how I would be and where my body would be.
Yeah.
How could someone support me when I'm in that position? Or I do, I think about these things. Like after we did the sitting one, I actually thought about where I'm sitting, and I'm even much more aware now when chairs are low to the ground.
Yes.
How hard it is to get up, or is it hard? It really depends. And I think a lot about, well, what muscles am I using in this? Where I never thought about that stuff before. Never,
just did it.
Yeah. Well, or I didn't do it because I didn't have a strong core or whatever else is going on with me, right? Yeah. So that's kind of how I practice a lot of the stuff because
that's really cool. Self-awareness. Nice. Well, hopefully, folks, you guys will take the chance, maybe even to, the next time you go to sit and stand for yourself from a chair, maybe even like step to the side of where your body just sat and stood up and see where it is you might be able to put your own body in that reversal roll, even though there's nobody right there. So we're hoping you guys have a chance to practice something. And maybe if you have another person in your household or at work, you might be able to find somebody you could try it with too. And Shelley?
Yeah, well, I just saw some new comments. So
cool.
Barbara asked if this video would be available for teaching. I'm going to say it's available on Facebook. And if we get lots of shares and lots of likes, I'll move it over to YouTube in a couple of weeks.
So tell your friends, pass
So
it
tell
on.
your friends to pass it on and get lots of people to watch this one today. And I'll move it over in a couple of weeks to YouTube,
Awesome.
and it'll be free.
See, your likes pay off. Your likes and shares, they really mean a lot to us. And if we see a video is popular, then Shelly edits it and throws it on YouTube. And so it's there
Forever.
well, for eternity.
But come join us again.
We'll see you guys Tuesday and have a great weekend, friends.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to help us spread TIPA's positive approach message around the world. And don't forget to click the bell to get notified when new videos are posted.